Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Casting Seeds. I'm Savannah, your holistic health practitioner and host.
And I'm Jeremiah, your co-host, and you are listening to the only holistic health podcast that uses God's singular truth to give you individualized discernment.
Ooh, we threw you guys for a loop on that one. Jeremiah did part of the opening.
Yeah, I did.
Also, this show is going to be a little weird.
Kooky?
Yeah, it's going to be a little funky because we are going to we're going to blend a little into conspiracy theories today. We're not going to say whether or not we agree with these things. We're just going to give you guys all the facts and let you do extra research if you want to. And we'll leave it at that. How's that?
Don't you love that podcast that just gives you a rabbit hole to jump into? Yeah.
That's going to be us today. But I feel like holistic health kind of does that in general. It kind of makes you question your sanity. I like to say that when people are kind of getting into holistic health or conspiracies in general, they tend to figure out that like, oh, food companies are wanting to kill me. Like some of them are wanting to kill me.
The food pyramid's upside down.
Yeah. Why are there chemicals and everything? Oh, and then they like start looking things up on YouTube, and then it goes to like marijuana cures everything to then like Mothman. Somehow people make
I feel like it goes Alien, then Mothman.
I feel like I don't know, and then X-Files type stuff. But it's not going to be that wild. I'm just saying that we're on the playing field of like conspiracies, and healing and those types of things. I mean, you guys probably know because you are able to read the, what is it? The like title.
Okay.
They're going to be able to read the title before they listen to the episode, which is about sound healing and frequencies.
Okay.
And Dr. Royal Raymond Rife III. So, which the Rife thing, that's where more of the conspiracy stuff comes into play. Especially with like, oh, he died after discovering.
Yeah, and he was like friends with Nikola Tesla and all these people that were in conspiracy theories.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the rabbit hole we're jumping into today. Also, Jeremiah and I are going to give personal testimonies, and I may even try to call my mom later and ask her about the sound therapy because it actually really helped her in the hospital and healing out of the hospital. And her doctor even confirmed that he was like amazed with her MRI the very next morning when I stayed overnight with her, listening to sound frequencies all night. He was like, wow, your brain bounced back really quickly. Can we give credit to frequencies? I don't know. But
you give credit to the Lord.
Exactly.
Not the creation.
Exactly. And we do have, that's the fun part of this as well. We have some interesting Bible verses that kind of back up sound healing a little bit.
All righty.
Jeremiah's looking at, by the way, Jeremiah's like the conspiracy theory king. So the fact that he's looking at me a little baffled is really fun.
Well, like, so I've heard of Dr. Royal, and I've seen some of his videos on like how they burst cancer away.
Yeah.
And this also jumps into like all the whole laser and stuff where they're able to use sound frequency and lasers now to kill cancer. And there's no, how do you say, not
pushback,
not proof, but like there's no one supporting it in the health industry.
There are quite a few, but it's just not very common. Yeah.
It's not being used in cancer treatment places.
No, it's not. And they're not doing studies on it.
No, so that's what I mean. There's no support for it.
Yeah. Normally, the way you get support is by getting third-party, unbiased studies, and they haven't cared to. So that's why a lot of this is going to be just things that we have gathered. I should say me. I gathered all this information from all different sources, and I'll put the sources in the show notes. And you guys can use individualized discernment under God's singular truth about this.
And you could also go watch the Mythbusters episode where they used heavy metal versus Mozart to grow plants, and you could literally watch frequency kill plants.
Yeah. No, and so that's actually things like that are a part of our episode today. Okay. How sound actually does make a difference, which we'll get to that. I wanted to give first an overall kind of gist of when all this started and when it kind of came to popularity with Dr. Royal Raymond Rife III.
All right, let's get a conspiracy history lesson.
Okay. Well, everything that we're going to give right now is actual fact.
Oh, perfect.
All of these things are going to be fact, and you'll start to see when it starts to blend into conspiracy stuff. And then from there, we're going to get into basically what vibrations are and the definition of vibrations biblically and non-scientifically, and also sound therapy. And then we'll go into all of that. Oh, also, we're not going to be this is going to be a long episode.
No news is good news.
No news. No nourishing news today. Sorry, everybody. Your nourishing news is that we're talking about something that's kind of wild for us. So, okay, let's get into this. Dr. Royal Raymond Rife III. He was born in 1888 and died in 1971. He was an inventor, an innovator, a researcher, an optical technician, and a microbiologist. In 1920, he built the world's first virus microscope. The San Diego Union wrote a paper on him saying that he bore the wonders of the germ life. There is also a website called www.rife.org, spelled R-I-F-E, so rife.org. And it has all of his studies, all of his reports, everything that has ever been logged about him. Here, Jeremiah, I'll show you right here on the computer. You could see it has home, journals and magazine articles, lab and clinical reports, Rife ERA technology, correspondence, interviews, court cases, newspaper articles. So the court cases, those are interesting too. Miscellaneous documents, technical, and like all of his patents that he made, microscope and optic blueprints, Crane and Marsh articles, and all of his images that were posted in newspapers, research and resources, and you can even contact the people who run this website. I don't know what is 100% true and what is, but there is also a book about him and all of his frequencies and all of his studies that I actually have on my Amazon page. So that it's also an expensive book. It's huge and it's in depth.
It's like $100 and something.
Yeah, I think like 130.
Yeah.
30. I don't know. But anyway, if you're interested, those things are all available. This is just, it's getting into fun stuff. Okay, so these are all true facts so far. In 1933, he completed and perfected the microscope. He completed and perfected the microscope that could look at viruses. So this had over 6,000 parts to it. And I have a photo of it for Jeremiah. This is the 6,000 part microscope.
Wow. It looks like it's just a bunch of stuff put together.
Yeah, it kind of looks like something from Willy Wonka.
Yeah, it looks like some steampunk stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly what it looks like. You guys can look it up on the website. It's super interesting. It's weird looking. So that's the 6,000 part microscope. He knew how to move everything individually so that it was able to magnify objects 60,000 times their normal size, which is incredible, especially for that time in the 1930s.
Yeah, he's got binoculars on there.
It's literally, it's an insane looking thing. So, this was important because the modern electron microscopes that were made previously, they instantly killed viruses where you could only see like the remains and debris of a virus. He discovered that you could kill viruses and other ailments with certain frequencies because he was able to keep them alive under the microscope and then test on them. Mm-hmm. So you could see, and then he would record them being like blasted by a certain frequency or encouraged to grow. So that was one or the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So this is all historical. This is all true. So this is a quote from his book. It says, he slowly rotated a block quartz prism to focus light of a single wavelength upon an organism that he was examining. This wavelength would be selected because it resonated with the spectroscopic signature frequency of the microbe. So whatever was under the organism, like under the scope, he would see it starting to react, and then he'd write down that light signature and its frequency. So this was based on the now established fact that every molecule oscillates at its own distinct frequency.
Yeah.
So for people who are listening that don't understand what that means, it means that every single molecule in all of existence in the universe has its own certain vibration rate, right? So Jeremiah and I, even though we're sitting next to each other, we understand that there's air between us. That's how sound waves can be heard. That's how our ears can hear it and our brain can process it. But even if we were to look at our hands, technically, if we were to go down to like atoms and microorganisms, Jeremiah and I both know that there's tons of space between that, right? It's just more condensed, but they're all vibrating at different frequencies. Same with like this table that you can hear. Same with the microphone. I mean, that's how microphones that we're speaking into, that's how people can hear us right now over this podcast. So
I think the best example I could give is you've seen people scream and sing until a glass breaks, a glass cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
Literally the same exact thing, but happening on a chemical level.
Well, no, that's just how it happens on the molecular level, actually.
Thank you.
But what's interesting is that person. So yeah, when you're able to sing to that point, it actually is pulling apart those molecules to where they can't stand being next to each other anymore. So there are also ways that you could heal molecules as well, depending on the frequency that you're using. So that's what he used, a quartz prism, which is so interesting. So that's kind of the base of what we know is fact. Okay.
I have a bunch of stuff I have to show you after this
that we can't talk about on here.
Well, I mean, we can, but I don't have any of the information offhand.
Oh, Jeremiah didn't prepare. That's what he's telling me right now.
Well, so sound frequency opens up into how you perform sound frequency. And there's different ways. He's using a quartz crystal to amplify.
Yeah.
Now, there's that woohoo thing where, you got all those people who collect crystals and diamonds and all this stuff, and they believe that it creates good energy.
We're going to get into that.
Okay, I'll wait then.
Okay.
I'll wait to say what I want to say.
Okay. I'm nervous. So continuing with true facts, okay? Barry Lynes, spelled Lynes, also wrote a book 50 years after he discovered all of Dr. Rife's information. His book is called The Cancer Cure That Worked, 50 Years of Suppression. It's all about the Rife report. So, and all of his Rife discoveries. This man wrote in depth how Rife did cure 16 people of cancer. Okay. 16 out of 18. The 2 other people did not die. They just also had other things that helped them with their cure of cancer. But 16 people reportedly said in multiple magazines and things like this is, I could say supposedly that they were cured, but this is all what's written. Okay. Like as historical fact that 16 people out of 18 were cured just with his therapy alone. And so there was this huge dinner that was thrown. And this is where we start wondering what is conspiracy and what's not. So
JFK stuff here.
Yeah, this is where it gets weird. So he's also a San Diego scientist, and even the Evening Tribune wrote about his discovery. They said that the dreaded disease destroyed by rays, the claim of SD scientist, and they went all in about it. So Milbank, this is also true. This all happened. What happened after this dinner is where it starts to go downhill, or maybe up. We don't know what's true or not. So Milbank Johnson, MD, he's a medical director of Pacific Mutual Life Insurance Company. He was the president of the Southern California Auto Club. He gave a dinner in the 1930s to honor the accomplishments and achievements of Royal R. Rife in his home of Pasadena called Bellbank. Okay. So there's a photo I'm going to show you, Jeremiah. And in the cabinet to the right, it had Napoleon's gold dishes in it. If that tells you how rich this man was. He was reportedly worth around $15 million, which back in the 1920s and 30s, I don't know what that equates to today, but it's way more than $15 million, let me tell you. So there's a newspaper article entitled "Scientists' Latest Strides on War on." Oh my gosh.
In war.
Scientists' latest strides in war on
Ills.
disclosed. It looked like I'm trying not to say World War III. Do you see how I?
Yeah.
Okay.
World War III's.
Disclosed. Scientists' latest strides in. This is so embarrassing. Scientists' latest strides in war.
Baby.
Okay. Scientists' latest strides in war on ills disclosed. Weird title. But the doctors attending came from all over the United States, and there's a list of all of their names. What's interesting, and this is factual, okay? I even looked it up. Half of those people all of those doctors decided to try doing it. Half of those people, after starting to do the healing frequency, cancer curing stuff, they were asked to step down as doctors or to leave the country. And then the other half started denying that it worked and then got promoted in staff to no longer just being MDs, but owning hospitals and working with, do you know what foundation I'm going to say? Starts with an R?
No, I don't know.
The Rothschild Foundation for Health.
Oh, I didn't know you had a foundation.
Yeah, they're the ones who stopped, like, you know, the medicine men coming around doing things like coming with their
guys.
Yeah.
They're
the ones who stopped the herbal medicine stuff and promoted hospital use.
Interesting.
And all of those doctors who went to this,
were they all on the Titanic?
they owned. No, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. This is where it gets weird. Okay, yeah. I don't know, but this is a fact. I do know for a fact that it showed their names and the hospitals that they owned, and then they said that they would not allow Rife's machine to come.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Also, this is where, and I don't know if this is true, this is just claimed on the website. Apparently he became discredited because he was like up for a Nobel Prize. Mm-hmm. He became discredited. All of his work and his lab was destroyed in San Diego. And then he got really depressed and didn't study for a while. But there is a weird large gap in his studies. Let me show you. In his labs and clinical reports. Look, it's in the 1930s. The last one is in 1936. And then it jumps. Oh, wait. Oh, no. The last one's 1939. You can see right here.
Yeah.
Gail Gabel's lab reports in 1939. And then it all of a sudden jumps to 1954.
Yeah.
I understand there was a world war at that time as well. But supposedly that was in the time that all of his work was destroyed and he had to do discoveries and research and rebuild everything. So that's the conspiracy part. Also, he was close to Nikola Tesla and all that stuff. So,
do you know the timetable between them two?
It's in here.
Yeah,
somewhere. It was in the early 1920s.
Did you know Trump? I think it was his uncle who was the one who took all Nikola Tesla documents and everything that he owned.
I heard that. I don't know if it's true though.
I'm sure. He worked for the FBI, and it's documented that he took everything. But there was something like so many cases that were claimed, and then only so
cases
many
of what?
Boxes of documents and of his inventions, and only so many showed up at the warehouse.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
And
I can't confirm or deny that.
If it's close enough, I'm sure the same group of FBI agents took all this stuff.
Yeah,
if it was a conspiracy theory.
Okay. See, so Jeremiah was pooping on me beforehand, being like, oh, don't share misinformation, Savannah. And now he's sitting here talking about FBI documents. Listen, I don't know, okay? I'm going to say I don't know on that because we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about sound waves and whether or not they work, okay? So with this being said, apparently some sort of machine was made. And I think a reason why a lot of the people poo-poo all this stuff now is because now there are tons of MLM companies and different random...
What's MLM?
Multi-level marketing companies.
Okay.
That, like, you have to buy it and you have to go under me and then you have to sell it type of
pyramid scheme.
BS. Yeah, which is actually illegal in the US.
Yep.
And that sell this machine, the Rife machine, sound frequency machine. So I did as much research as I could to look up different machines, and they are wild looking, and they look like it's something out of a steampunk video. And some of them look like they could just be stickers. It's the dumbest thing ever. What I am going to say is Jeremiah and I are not here to promote any machines or technology. We do not promote you buy any of those things. But what I am going to say is that we do have personal experiences along with actual biblical references that explain how sound speaks things, certain sound and vibrations does create. God created things.
And he destroyed.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. That was a part of it too.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. But a lot of people, when they start going into the whole black hole of sound and frequencies, and I think this is why a lot of Christians are turned off by it, is because of this guy. And that's why I wanted to give the background of who factually Dr. Royal Raymond Rife III was, what he was about, and and how he just quietly died one day in 1971. And it wasn't a big deal, but he was not accredited for a lot of his work. Later, like after he died, it's like they took away his accreditation, which I find really weird and interesting. I love this type of stuff. I don't know if it's true, but to each their own. I also want to note too that the Rife machine was actually banned in the US for like 3 or 4 decades after it was supposedly destroyed in his lab. So it was banned all the way up until
so were there multiples?
I don't know. But it was banned there must have been, because people took it back to like little nurse places and little doctor places, and then they were asked to leave. So there must have been. Okay, so now getting away from Dr. Rife, because he's a part of the equation, but he's not the answer to the equation. I want to get into vibration. And this is where, Jeremiah, I'm sure you have certain things that you're going to interject with that I will try to make as scientific as possible, because that's the goal of our podcast. But let's talk about vibration. Scientifically, there's vibration between everything. This is what we talked about earlier. It looks like there's space between us, but it's measurable waves of light that create sound, and vice versa. So even in the dark or in more solid objects, it's just more of a dense vibration than the space between Jeremiah and I, or the listeners hearing us, or like listening to us speak, basically. Now, the scientific understanding is this. Are you ready? Nothing rests. Everything moves and everything vibrates. At the most fundamental level, the universe and everything which At the most fundamental level, the universe and everything which comprises it is pure vibration. Okay? That is energy manifesting itself in different ways. The universe has no quote unquote solidity, and matter is merely energy in a state of vibration. So that is the actual definition, like as the most modern scientific definition of what they say is happening to matter around us constantly. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, that sounds right. The only thing I would add is vibration. Vibration is friction.
Yeah, it causes friction,
and that's how you can feel it, you can see it,
causes light,
everything. Mm-hmm. And I think a great example is like
sorry, thank you, continue.
I think a great example of vibration is earthquakes. Us Californians know about that. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if the tectonic plate just hit each other and they collided and we never felt anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay, so that's the other thing too, because I think people also think of electrical currents as a type of light wave, but it's not true. Electrical currents or electromagnetic currents, any type of visible light or any type of wave is a type of vibration. So what we're talking about specifically, we're talking about vibrations. We're talking about frequencies, not light in particular, not electrical in particular. Does that make sense? Like, we're just general vibrations. Everything has a certain frequency and a certain vibration to it. So, which is scientific. This is 100% backed by science. So, and then some Christians will be like, well, I don't believe in science. You do. If you're a Christian, you have to believe in science, because science and God back each other up 100%.
Yeah.
So Jeremiah, when I talk about vibrations, with everything that we've spoken about, what is the first Bible verse that pops into your head when you think about some sort of vibration happening in existence?
Yeah, Genesis 1:3.
Yep.
Let there be light. And God created everything through his voice.
Yes.
And he said it was good and everything. So, yeah, that's the first thing. And then, the
he
scariest thing.
He created everything. Be really fast.
Okay.
Let that settle for a second. God created everything through a sound, through
a
vibration. In science, we just read they just said the whole structure of the universe, what holds the smallest singular molecule atom together, is vibration.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, y'all. That should be exciting. I want like a round of applause button. Do we have that? Where are the sound effects? Jeremiah's my sound guy. I'm looking at you.
No.
It's okay.
Today.
It will be added in.
No.
It will. I'm going to do it. I don't care.
All right.
Okay. Also, Psalm 33:9. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. Yeah. There are literally hundreds of verses like this, by the way, when I looked it up. Genesis 1, God spoke, and the world came into being. Isaiah 44:26, God fulfills all of the predictions of his messengers and then carries out the words of his servants, like, again, fulfilling things. Romans 4:17, God calls into existence things that do not exist and gives life to the dead. These are all, I mean, those are just a few, but there are so many verses that make it so clear that when God speaks, things exist. And also he takes things away, right? Think about in Exodus. Wait, was it Exodus? No. In Genesis, where God also decided, hey, we're going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Or I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. God speaks and things happen.
Yeah, he even instructs us to do things in Jericho. How he took down the walls of Jericho. Like, they walked around it and they played the trumpets and then kaboom.
Yeah, see? So it's interesting because throughout the Bible, and I don't think it's considered to be given any validity in any way.
Yeah.
Because people, I mean, obviously we give validity to God first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not understanding like the power of words, the power of the living, breathing word, Scripture. Jesus calls himself that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we're understanding how powerful sound is, how powerful vibrations are. God says that the word is sharper than any two-edged sword. Like, you guys, when their hippy dippies are coming at you and saying like, love is power and all these things, you can take a step back and be like, yeah, actually, I agree with you. Biblically, here's how that's true, you know? Not to the full extent of worshiping it. This is kind of similar to when we've spoken about yoga and things like that before in the past, or even herbs. Let's just say herbs because that's an easy one. A lot of people have poo-pooed me because I'm a Christian and I'm an herbalist, that because I do not worship herbs, that I must not understand them. Because I give God validity first and say that God, it's creation. I'm not going to worship creation over creator. But there's also power in herbs. It's herbal medicine. It can help us or even hurt us, right? Same thing with vibrations.
That's why we have worship.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Look at all the Psalms. Look at David, like the power of expressing and worshiping Christ.
It brings us joy to worship the Lord.
Yes. And like that conviction that you get from the Holy Spirit, I don't care if there are people who are like, oh yeah, I've never really felt anything physical. Get out of here. If you're a Christian and you get that sorrow in your heart or that like, honestly, like the turning of the bowels that it talks about, how your bowels turn with conviction, that is a physical manifestation that is happening to you over something spiritual. And when you feel that feeling inside of you, it's not a made up feeling. You're feeling a vibration, something happening inside of you. The stirring of the Holy Spirit, wind itself, even just wind. And by the way, the Holy Spirit is compared to wind all the time. Wind is a type of vibration, right?
Yeah.
It's so powerful that just like water, it can carve mountain ranges. It can break down, like the Tacoma Bridge incident that happened a long time ago. I mean, it destroys things, and it also puts seeds into new beautiful places. So
Yeah.
it all kind of really like zippered together for me, where I was like, for Christians to poo-poo frequencies, I think it's not heretic in any way. I don't think it's anti-biblical in any way. But I just think that they haven't done the research of understanding or comparing like real life experiences with the Bible. I think they take the Bible too literally, like, oh, God spoke. He said, let there be light, and there was light. But then they don't look at the science behind what light is. Light is amazing. Light itself confuses and baffles scientists to this day, but it is measurable, and it's measurable via frequencies and sound. God literally spoke science on his third verse. I think that's amazing. I don't know. Y'all should be freaking out like me right now. I'm really excited about it. It literally makes my stomach hot. I want to take off my sweatshirt. Yes, I'm overheating. I'm so excited.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with sound frequencies?
Okay. Yes. And then we'll go back into like crystals and all those things.
Or we could skip that part.
That's okay. Well, that's like a whole other rabbit hole, though.
It's a giant rabbit hole. Like, I could tell you, like, there's people who build batteries out of crystals. There's
No. I want to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, no.
I'm saying our personal experiences is a rabbit hole.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
We'll come back. Let's circle back to our personal experiences.
Okay.
Because I got hot and overheated and excited. But I want to get into sound therapy. So now we're going to get into specific therapies, okay?
Okay.
About this stuff. Like I said earlier, God gave us the world. He gave us all of creation to be able to use. He makes that clear in Genesis. And even when Adam and Eve are banned from the garden, he says, subdue the world.
Yeah.
You know, use it to what you need. I am not going to sit here and say that I have ever put a crystal on my forehead and been like,
Does that work?
This feels better. Some people do that. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm also not going to sit here and promote that Christians go into stores and say, I want to buy like a healing quartz that works, for the heart or whatever. I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is that all living things have frequencies that resonate with each other. And the rose quartz has the same, if you play a certain frequency, like the heart healing frequency that helps your heart, it also vibrates. It won't vibrate any of the other types of quartzes around it or any type of crystals, but guess which one starts to move?
The rose.
The rose quartz.
Okay.
And guess what? Roses also help in herbal medicine, help calm your pericardium of your heart. Yeah. And roses respond to the exact same frequency that helps your heart and helps the rose quartz. Or vibrates the rose quartz.
Interesting.
God is a God of science, okay? And I'm going to say this. All people respond in different ways as well. So the same way that I don't respond super well to acupressure or acupuncture, I respond really well to massage though. And I respond okay to chiropractic. But this is just me, Savannah. I respond okay to certain things and really well to some things. I respond really well to sound therapy. Never thought in my life that I would, because when I just did those little sticks, it did nothing.
What sticks?
I'll get into that in a second. But
are you talking about those? Oh my gosh, what are they called? They go ding.
Yeah.
And they'll hold like a tune.
They're called tuning forks.
There you go.
So I'm glad that you said tune. So because I need something consistent for a long time, like playing a Hertz for an hour.
People do that. There's people who listen to bees, listen to the ocean,
Yes.
listen to rain.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm trying to get to is when you're doing this, certain people of different backgrounds, different DNA, different gifts, people do everyone's different. That's what holistic health is about. Some people are going to respond to these things really well, and some people aren't. Yeah. It doesn't mean that for the people who it did work for, that you discredit those people. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, I am more musically inclined. I write music. I play music. I play guitar. I play ukulele. I sing. I dance. I try to dance. I would say I really relate to David and his Psalms, okay? I will ask my best friend, Terry Ann, if she likes music, and she'd look at me and be like, no.
Yeah.
But Liz, right, loves music, does really well with music, probably would respond really well to sound therapy.
Yeah.
Is this making sense? I hope everyone is understanding what I'm saying.
Can I add a little something?
Yes.
And this is going to be maybe really eye-opening for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All of you parents that use sound machines to put your children to sleep.
Yes.
That is a frequency.
Yes.
You've been doing frequency therapy to your child for as long as they've been alive.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, so that's
so many Christians
and
use
then,
it.
So then to bring it into like, I do really well with essential oils. I do really well with herbs.
Yeah.
I do really well when I live in the desert around more rocks. I do really well when I'm living around more of the ocean. Okay. What you are not realizing is that you are using a holistic perspective of how you live better in certain circumstances. So you put yourself in that.
Yeah.
Right. So if a Christian came up to me and said, Savannah, I don't like the practice of how people use crystals and stuff and they worship them and they try to fill them up and give them power, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I agree with you. That's stupid. Yeah. But yes, can you grind up certain minerals and do they work better? Do some work better on your skin than others? Different clays, different minerals? Yes, absolutely. So, does rose quartz actually help your heart in some way? I have no idea. I haven't looked into the science of it. But you know what? If someone came to me and they're like, God has really given me an affinity towards like geology and rocks, and I really love working in the dirt. Whatever, I would say, yeah, then you probably would do well working with minerals.
Yeah.
And working with that, with God's creation in that way, in a biblical way where you don't worship it. So that is my hot take. I feel like where a lot of Christians are going to be like, oh, she approves crystal use. No. Yes and no. In biblical sense. I approve frequencies. I approve all of these things as long as it's biblical. The same way that, guess what? I approve for you to have sex if it's in the context of a biblical, safe, healthy marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So just because things can be used in a sinful way doesn't mean that it has to be excommunicated out of the church completely.
God's creation. We're a part of it.
Yeah. So that's why I've been really excited to do this episode, because I feel like it's kind of a hot take, and I wonder what you guys are going to say.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder how many people are going to not follow me anymore
That's
after
funny.
hearing this, or follow me. I don't know. I feel like I get like a fluctuation after each episode a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not significant.
I do know, like, there's a huge rabbit hole behind this stuff. And here's a great conspiracy for you guys to look into. Find out why they took lead out of household paint. Oh, yeah. Because that it's just, that's crazy to me. And what satellites are able to do and what they're using Wi-Fi for. Fun little rabbit hole. I won't say anything else on it. Lead and frequencies and EMFs. Yes. And lasers. And then I think you were talking about copper. Yeah. So under, again, techwellness.com. She's really awesome. I'd love to interview her. She has all of these things that help, like basically de-EMF your house. Faraday bags and stuff like that. Yeah. And copper, again,
cancels out EMF frequencies.
Yeah.
So a combination of copper and aluminum and stuff like that, polyurethane. Right?
So it's like a polyurethane that destaticises the surrounding area.
Yeah. So also if you're in more of a humid climate, it helps because the air is thicker. Wi-Fi has a harder time penetrating.
Seriously. So like I've been over here on the fog banks over here in Dana Point. Phone will not work in fog banks.
Right. But so this is all connected to frequencies, but people don't think about it ever.
And it's all because that they spray all those metals in the air it's in the clouds. And so like our phones can't get through.
Cloud seeding, which is actually
the government already claimed it. Yeah. It's already documented.
It's now not a conspiracy.
It's no longer a conspiracy. Yeah. And then the other thing that just no longer became a conspiracy, they announced that they are able to modify storms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what cloud seeding is.
They can create rain. Actively modifying the storm as it's growing.
Yeah, or make it smaller.
Produce more. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the smaller part. Can they do that?
Yes, they can also make it smaller.
I haven't seen that. But yeah,
have you not seen the newest tornado movie?
No, I did, but I mean that's more of a Twister? Movie. I saw the article that one of our generals said that like they are able to modify the actual storm.
Yes, they are. It's been known since the 1980s in public, but then if you talked about it, you were a conspiracy theorist. Anyway, so you see how this like connects to a lot of things, you guys. So that's why
it's only conspiracy until it's proven.
People are like not gonna think we're normal now after this. But I feel like if you're into holistic health and or you're a Christian, you kind of are interested in all these things. Getting back to the focus of this specifically.
Chickens are the gateway.
Kind of. I want to talk specifically now about sound therapy. Okay. So when I said earlier that the tuning forks didn't work for me super well. So with tuning forks specifically, when you put one, let's say I'm hitting a C sharp, I hit that vibration and it's going, and the other one next to it is not moving at all. If you put them close together, the other tuning fork will match and start vibrating at the same frequency as the other tuning fork. And they are showing the same thing, like they are killing cancer cells or they are killing tumors with certain frequencies in people's bodies as well. So they are using these things in everyday life. But here's the thing, a tuning fork will start to lose its sound over time. If you listen to a hertz in sound therapy it's normally recommended a minimum of 30 minutes, but that's why it's really recommended to play like a certain playlist in your sleep overnight to let your body relax. You will play a certain hertz and then it will resonate in your brain and your brain will know, oh, that's the same sound. So like 40 hertz helps with brain stimulation and nerve stimulation and growth, which is what I played for my mom over and over again all night in the hospital when I slept with her after her brain surgery. But I'll use that as an example. If you play that consistently, your brain resonates with it and it will actually do what it's told. So it will start to grow more brain cells. It will start to grow nerve endings. Now, in the scientific community, they say, it's kind of true. We haven't done a ton of consistent studies on it. And so that's kind of how they can poo-poo things very easily. But also, supposedly, Mr. Rife did, Dr. Rife. So there you go. I'll leave that at that. With that being said, this is now where I will go into specifically Jeremiah and I, when I discovered this 2 years ago, I thought I was going insane. I was praying and I had really, really horrible pain on my lower left side and I didn't know what was going on. And when I was praying, I got that discernment from the Lord that it was my colon. And out of nowhere, a memory came into my head while I was praying. And I'm pretty sure it was the Lord speaking to me. But I remembered my teachers talking about sound healing and frequencies when I was in school. And I thought, what a load of crock. But I just kind of in that moment, I just thought I'd be obedient and I just Googled, I was like colon frequency or colon hertz or whatever. I just Googled it because I was also
Your colon hurts. That's why.
Yeah. Ha, that's funny. I was writhing in pain though.
Yeah.
So all I did was just look it up and then it gave me, I forget what it was, but it gave me a sound and I played it just because I was like, whatever, I could just listen to like this really nice low tone at least. It will, I don't know. And I fell back asleep somehow. And about 30 minutes in, I woke up and I just felt like a liquid coolant going through my intestines. And then my side stopped hurting. It was so weird. And after that, I was like, I don't know if the Lord just told me that like frequencies actually work or something, but I am going to say right now that I'm going to look into this. And now over 2 years into this deep dive of using frequencies, using it on my mom, telling friends and family and clients and looking into it and doing research. Jeremiah has used it multiple times. I have used it multiple times. It's something, it's kind of like herbal medicine. You need to take it frequently or do it frequently. But it's weird because I will specifically put on a certain organ or body part and I'll ask Jeremiah, I'll be like, where do you feel a tingling sensation in your body?
Yeah, and I would guess the frequency based off of where I'm feeling it. And it was a little weird. It was weird.
It was weird.
I used it at Disneyland, remember? When I had that extreme diarrhea and my stomach hurt so bad.
Our first anniversary last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremiah was running to the bathroom.
Every like 5 minutes. I rode more toilets at Disneyland than rides.
He can tell you where the best ones are.
Dude, Star Wars Land or whatever it's called. I know you nerds will say it's not Star Wars Land.
Yeah, we got corrected all day. We're like, who cares?
Yeah.
But I think it's because they're the newest toilets. But Jeremiah would like listen to it in line. I wish we had headphones because it would have worked better.
Yeah.
But we played it just on our phones and he would listen to it and immediately it would like his diarrhea would cease. So, and then after a couple hours it would come back again and it literally was like taking herbal medicine. It was so weird. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where we have had it. And my mom, I made her a brain playlist. Yeah, which you guys, if people want it, just message me and I'll send it to you because it's connected to my private YouTube account, my frequency playlists. But I made it for her. It's a 7-hour playlist that she can just play every night. And my mom told me, she's like, I love that 40 one. And 40 is the main one for your frontal lobe and like your brainstem. And
just
by
the
the way,
one with the wub wub.
Yeah, and her surgery was on her frontal lobe. So it's so interesting to see that and to see it in my own family and how it's worked for us. And my mom will be like, my brain literally itches. And she didn't know which one was which. She has no idea. It just says 40 hertz or 71 or 70 hertz. That's all it said. She had no idea. And yeah, I love it. I think it's so cool. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I love how like biblically it's backed up. I love that frequencies literally and vibrations are genuinely connected to everything in existence. And yeah, and also even too, like going back to the power of words as well. With Jesus being the living, breathing word. I think it's interesting too, because they've even proven in water that if you put like the word love next to water and the word hate next to water and you put salt in it and just let it dry out, that you'll see like the cracked, crazy, like weirdness around the word hate and around the word love. Yeah. It will be like a soft, really pretty design. Mm-hmm. And then they also do it with freezing water too. It's really interesting. Yeah. So even without speaking it, the vibration itself of the, like a word that's written it changes things.
Yeah, they do it with plants. You know, they speak good into plants and they also do the negative. They also did it with
praying over food and water, how it changed the vibrations of that as well.
A great example of like how it's used for evil, that Liquid Death company, the water company, they actually tell you that they have like witchcraft prayed over it.
Yeah, they satanically. Yeah, I would never want to put anything that's literally labeled death into my body.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. And I think now because of like these types of convictions, I even also over the past few years since I've specifically gotten into this, There's even styles of music that are just kind of harsh and aggressive that I don't like to listen to anymore, that I used to love to listen to, especially when I wasn't a Christian. Yeah, I mean, the more you think about it, it's just weird. It's almost like you become more like, when you're a Christian being sanctified, you become more like light. Light is pure and perfect, right? If you think of God, and darkness, you don't, are not as attracted to it anymore. And that is a completely different quote unquote vibration, right? So yeah, it's so interesting. And you can get into it with colors, yes, with crystals, with sound therapy, with honestly, with water, with food, with plants, with animals. I mean, even that's why animals and plant, like they can see and feel different vibrations, and even light waves than humans can. It's all the same thing. It's all talking about energy, and where does energy come from? It comes from light, and light comes from God. So
yeah, absolutely. And fun fact, vibration and light will make the same shapes. And what I mean by that is, if you know the mandala, it's a type of art, and it could be produced using light waves, or it could be produced by using vibration or sound frequency.
Right.
And it'll create beautiful pieces of art and stuff like that. And then if you do it with light, it'll create the same art, but with color.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So another example, I actually answered this in that Facebook group a while ago because people were talking about frequencies canceling each other out when it comes to wool and linen.
Yeah.
So I had to do like a little debunking, because they were like, if I have a wool, like a wool mattress, but I put linen sheets on it, does it cancel it out? And the answer is no. And in the Bible, in Deuteronomy, it talks about that.
Mixing.
It's only when they're woven together.
Yeah.
So there are certain things, like you don't want to take the exact same. It's kind of like magnets, right? Some attract and some oppose each other.
Well, so all of them have a north and south.
Yeah.
All of them could push or pull.
Exactly. So you wouldn't want to take, like, let's say 100 hertz and then negative 100 hertz. You don't want to.
I don't know if you can go negatives.
I'm just trying to give an example.
Okay.
So those ones together, it's like putting a negative and a positive together. You can't do that. You can only put two negatives or two positives together. So let's say wool is the negative 100 hertz. This is just an example. This is not what it actually is. Okay. And linen is a positive 100 hertz. You literally cannot blend it together because it will fall apart. And also the anti-sweat, the antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiviral properties of both of them then get canceled out. But you can lay on a wool bed with linen sheets on it and cotton sheets in it that are all separate, because then those properties of them are all still working individually.
Yeah, I think a better example would be oil and water.
Oil and water, or even vinegar and baking soda.
Yeah.
If you put them together, the common, like, people will mix them together to clean things. Don't do that. It cancels each other out. The chemicals cancel each other out.
Yeah, you're not making a volcano.
Exactly.
In science class.
But guess what? If you put vinegar on something and scrub it and leave it for a day, and then you put baking soda on it and use it as an exfoliant the next day, it doesn't bubble. You can still use them in the correct way. Does that make sense? So I had to explain that, and people still didn't get it. I had to, like, explain the same thing over and over again. And I don't know how else to explain to people that it has to be woven together, like into one singular thread. And then it is incorrect. So the same way that certain plants don't do well in a pot together, certain minerals don't do well together, oil and water, elements, I don't know. But anyway, I hope
people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people will kind of put it into, like, that's how people have a connection or a spark, and other people don't. I don't know about that.
I'm a North Pole, you're a South Pole.
Yeah, no, not gonna. I rebuke you. No, but anyway, I hope this is all making sense, and it's super interesting how it all equates back to vibration ultimately. But that was our fun little rabbit hole episode, and a lot of people, especially on that Facebook group, have been asking for this in particular because they were so confused with that post, and I don't understand why, but hopefully now with the history and everything in the Bible verses, it all makes sense, and with the scientific facts and verbiage. But I just want to make it clear that also there is a TED Talk on how music is medicine. It's called Sound at a Cellular Level by Dr. Lee Bartle. And he talks about the different hertz and what they mean and how they connect to a brainwave category where your brain actually listens. So again, this is also scientific, and it is proven scientifically to the point where there's literally a TED Talk about it. Okay.
Must be true.
Yeah, it must be 100% true. But I just want to say that we're all a little crazy. Jeremiah and I probably crazier than most, but there is scientific data that backs this up and biblical data that backs this up. So with that, we love you guys. Don't hate us for this episode. Please keep listening. And this was really fun. I like this episode a lot.
Good job, love.
Good job to you. Don't forget to let us know what you guys think. And ultimately, as always, keep casting seeds. We hope you enjoyed learning how to cultivate God's creation from a biblical perspective. Holistic health is to prioritize whole person wellness through Christ. Like and comment on what topics we're casting seeds or casting pearls.
If you found this information provided useful, subscribe to our podcast for future updates, leave a review to help us improve, and share this episode. We would like to remind you before we leave that perfect health cannot be attained in this world.
Only spiritual salvation through sanctification and repentance to God and turning away from sin will give you a perfect body in the kingdom come. Nourish yourself in the Word, in prayer, and in biblical fellowship daily.
Thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to our listeners for making this podcast possible.
Always praying.
Keep casting seeds.